time, so I didn't know that the past that God had for me and had for Tom, that I'd be here 50 years later. Because when I think of it, Tom and I were doing everything in our worldly power to promote music. And today, both of us, because of Jesus Christ, are making melody in our hearts. Making melody in our hearts. Making melody in our hearts. Unto the King of Kings. Now, when I met Tom 50 years ago, the Lord was moving in my life in promotion, but I didn't know it. And the Lord opened the doors. I was the news director of CHNS Radio. And one day, the program director of the whole unit of Maritime Broadcasting Company, which had CHNS and CHFX, came to me in my news director's office, and he said, you're doing a great job as the news director, but how'd you like to learn something about the programming of a radio station? And I said, well, I'm pretty busy. And he said, well, we've got this little FM station across the hall from you called CHFX. And it's playing Montevani and Beethoven and all of that kind of stuff all day, and nobody's listening to it. And he said, so would you like to be the program director of it? And I didn't know whether that was an insult or a compliment. So I said, well, I want to learn all about broadcasting, so I'll do it. So I got up from my news director office and I went in, and they were playing something called Viva's the Rata or something, and it was awful. It was awful. And I said to the guy I said, what is that? Because I never listened to the station. And he said, that's Viva Serrata by Beethoven or somebody. And I said, well, I heard of Beethoven, but I never heard about that. Have you ever heard of Johnny Cash? And he said, what? I said, Johnny Cash, actually, when I was a boy, Johnny Cash, Buck Owens, all of those stars came to Parsborough, Nova Scotia, and put on shows in a tent. I can remember when Hank Snow came with his horse Shawnee, and his son Jimmy was about that tall, and put on a show. And I said, so take that thing off the turntable, we're going to put country music on CHFX. Now, within one DDM book, that's the ratings, CHFX became the #1 station in Halifax.
Wow.
I went out and got people like Tom Hearn and the things that they did, and hired Johnny Cash and Doug Bell and all of that, and put them on the air. And we became successful. Then, Tom will remember this, we went and I said, we've got to do something in person to put Tom and the other singers in this area. So, Gary, would you just do me a favor? Would you put your hands over Nancy's ears, because she's too young to hear this. Just keep them there for a moment. We went out and hired a bar, a tavern, which you couldn't open on Sunday nights to serve. And we hired that. And Gary Miller was the owner. Does anybody remember that in Spryfield? Gary Miller was not only the owner, he'll tell you this in the testimony, he was a raving alcoholic, drinking his own product. And the thing about it was that we went out and rented that on Sunday night and packed that place out with country music fans. Then Tom and the rest of us got this great idea. We went to the Forum, and one of those side places there that would seat about 400 to 500, we rented that and moved them to the jamborees to that and packed them out. Meanwhile, CHFX was growing and growing and growing in popularity. And we decided to bring Tom T. Hall to Halifax. Old Dogs and Watermelon Wine. I remember the day that Clayton Delaney died. And I remember Tom singing this, me and Jesus got a good thing going. Me and Jesus got it all all worked out. So we brought him in. Now Tom's agent told us, now listen carefully, that when Tom T. Hall came, he was known as the storyteller, that he only did a 1-hour show. He didn't take encores, he didn't do anything. He just did a 1-hour show. So we had to fill it when we brought Johnny Cash and Barbara Mandrell and other people in. They did 2.5-hour shows. But this guy had only did 1-hour show. So I thought to myself, I got a program to fill. And guess who we put on and the opening to Tom T. Hall and other ones? Tom Hearn. We brought him in because we said Tom T. Hall and Nova Scotia's Johnny Cash are going to be here tonight. So Tom decided he was going to put out an album, and 50 years ago, I wrote this on the back of the album. If you ever find one of them, I think they're worth about 39 cents today. Well, maybe 40 because I wrote something on the back. But anyway, this is what I wrote about Tom T. Hall, your friend and mine. Or Tom Hearn. Tom Hearn is not just a singer of country songs. Tom is also a writer and a man who performs his material with deep feeling. His style clearly shows the dedication of our kind of music and his love for our brand of sounds that shows through every song that he sings. Tom Hearn was born in Montreal, but after 18 years, he moved to the Maritimes, and he's earned with honor his maritime citizenship and has become a leader in the family of the sounds of country in the Atlantic provinces. This is the third album by Tom Hearn, and like the others, it contains the sounds and songs of a country heart. Listen to those selections penned by Tom and consider he has written over 100 songs, some of which have made the hit charts and have been sung and recorded by other performers. Tom Hearn was one of the top local names in the country field to be chosen by CHFM Radio to appear with Tom T. Hall at the Atlantic Winter Fair stage show, which entertained thousands. Tom Hearn has a country style that is pure country, and this album he sings that kind of country, my kind of country, and most important, your kind of country. 50 years later, could I add a line to this? And he and I know Jesus. We know Jesus. And although Tom never once, but the Bible says I have to forgive, invited me to sing with him on stage. Wow. But when we get to heaven, Jesus, the forgiver of all Tom's mistakes by not allowing me to sing with him, will bring the two of us up on the stage and have a song singing, me and Jesus got a great thing going. Me and Jesus got it all worked out. Dorothy? Tom? You got it. We love you. So I want to come down and give you a hug. I'm not going to say anything about Nancy and Gary because I noticed something a couple of moments ago which shocked me. When I talked about the lobster, they had a blank expression on their faces. Love you, Tom.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, here is Tom Hearn singing without Gerry Hendricks.